Welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. I'm Jacob,
And I'm Luke.
and in today's video, we're doing our first live stream of 2024. So, what have you been watching?
So we're going to go over a few things today. We're going to recap some of the things we've been watching, maybe talk about what we're looking forward to, and maybe give an update on life and what's been going on. So what's been happening, Jacob, since we last did this, first live stream of the year? How was your Christmas and New Year?
Very good, thank you. Besides the power going out on the Gold Coast, it's been amazing.
Yeah, we've had some pretty poor weather lately here. Lots of storms, which is pretty common for this area this time of year. And have you, besides the power outage, you've been watching plenty of movies and TVs?
TV shows, yeah.
More TV shows, and I've been watching a lot of movies. So I set the target of trying to watch 100 movies this year. Kind of inspired by our friend Zach Attacks Reviews, how many did he say watched last year? 100 plus?
Around the 90s.
Yeah. Around the 90s. So I'm going to see if I can do 100. We're 29 days into the year, and I've watched 17 films. I was at one point had watched more movies than days of the year, so I was going to break 300 at some point there. I don't know if I will now, but I think I'll get 100 pretty easily.
Yeah.
And watched a couple of shows in there. So should we get into it? Do you want to tell me what are some of the things you've watched this year? Maybe not the best thing, but what's some of the things you've watched so far since we've done our last video?
I finished watching season 2 of What If, and I've noticed a trend that the first 4 episodes are individual based episodes, and then episodes 5 to 9 have a story, and then there's a final boss at the end, and it kind of loses its way. And I've noticed that Captain Carter's the main character of the multiverse.
Okay, so my issue with the first season was that they linked them all together. Should I bother with this season, or am I just going to be more disappointed?
It's basically the same as season 1.
Does it carry on from season 1, or it's its own individual season?
It carries on from Captain Carter's episode with how season 1 ended.
Okay, so probably don't know if I'll bother watching it then. Something else you've been watching?
I have also been watching Percy Jackson, what is based on a book, and I'm enjoying it for what it is, a kid's show. The final episode is coming out next Wednesday, but I won't get the opportunity to finish it. Well, I'll get to later, and it's a pretty fun show. I might read the books at some point to get to know if they're actually been good to the material, and
I've heard all positive feedback actually regarding Percy Jackson. I've had a lot of people recommend it to me. I don't think I will, but I've not heard anything bad about it. What have I been watching? I won't get into movies. I'll kind of clump them together. I watched the Ted animated series, Peacock original. Kind of on the fence about it. Big Ted fan. I enjoyed the Ted movies. I thought the show was funny, but I think it had a weird formula. I went for this sitcom vibe, which I'm fine with. I think that worked. But I felt at times the main characters, being Ted and John, were overpowered by the cousin that lived with them, a character not referenced in the movies to my knowledge. I'm not a super fan, so I can't say they didn't mention her name at least once, but I don't remember it being a character, definitely not a character. And she kind of overpowered them at times, which I thought was a disappointment. Why would you make a show with, it had such a good premise that it was going to be Ted and Johnny growing up, and then they only gave us, maybe half the episodes was that, and the other half were kind of the cousin and her agenda. So disappointed me. I think it had the potential to be the most hilarious show I've seen in a long time, and it kind of was a pass mark after all that.
Sounds disappointing, if I may say.
Yeah, I think maybe if you're not as big of a fan as I am, you might be less disappointed. Or, for instance, my wife didn't mind the character. She thought that the cousin was fine. I thought it was very much she was pushing political agendas, which I wasn't against that, but just doesn't match with what Ted is. I thought that was a bit strange. Like Ted's just, it is outrageous in nature, but this show tried to be a bit, PC by adding in this cousin character, which again, not against, but it conflicted with what Ted is. I've watched just over half of Only Murders in the Building season 3. It's fine. It's one of those shows I can kind of like watch and not have to pay too much attention to.
It's a fun show.
Yeah, so that's good enough. Don't know. Oh, I've watched 4 episodes of Hazbin Hotel, which is an animation it's on Amazon Prime now. I was kind of, someone I work with wanted me to watch it with them. They're a big fan of the animation. I could be wrong here. Basically, it's a semi-spin-off of another show called Hell of a Boss, which is on YouTube and is, crowdfunded or whatever it is. It's people are kind of obsessed with it on YouTube, and then Amazon picked up this spin-off. I don't know if you might like it. I think it's an okay animation. I don't understand the obsession with it. The comedy I don't think is that funny. The premise is they're in hell, and every year the angels from heaven come and mass kill off the people in hell because they're overpopulated. And this person, the Queen of Hell, wants to create a hotel where people can go and kind of repent for their sins and learn how to be good so that they don't get killed. And I think they can then go to heaven. That's meant to be the trade-off. There's been 4 episodes out so far. I think 1 come out every week. It's somewhat funny. It's not as funny as, South Park or Family Guy, but it's okay. It's a bit weird. The characters are like these strange looking demons, and I don't know. I could pick it apart all day, but it is liked. So that's what I've watched in terms of TV. What else have you watched?
I've also watched The Beekeeper with Jason Statham, and for a B-grade movie, it was fine. I really enjoyed the concept of that in this alternate society. There's this organization that if the hive or if something needs to get sorted out, they contact the beekeeper and the beekeeper sorts it out. That premise is awesome. The plot is not so awesome, and some things that happen in the movie, you go, would that actually happen? Will Jason Statham's character actually make it to hunt down the villain? Probably not. So if you turn off your brain, it's a fine movie, but if you think about it, you kind of go, oh, very unrealistic. So it's very much how you think about the movie. I thought it was fine for what it was, but it's not going to win anything. I would like them to make a prequel or something to show how the Beekeeper Society or organization started. I think that would be cool. But yeah, it's a fine movie.
Yeah, I feel the same. It was one of the movies I did see. I am definitely not a fan of the action genre. Like, I don't hate it. To me, it's kind of silly. It's almost a joke sometimes. Like I just think of the Fast and Furious franchise, and that's just outrageous. So, horses for courses, if people like it, that's cool for them. When I look at these things, I go, that's a bit silly. And I went to this movie going, this is going to be silly. This man is going to kill people that he cannot. He's going to survive things he should not. And he's going to get into places that he could not get into. And all those things happen. So I'm not shocked. It did what I expected. And I was like, at the end of it, I was entertained. So it was darn right stupid, but it was entertaining. Wouldn't watch it twice, but I don't regret seeing it. Yeah. What else have you been watching?
Something that's probably high on the list, something that I would argue is probably the best on the list, is on Amazon Prime, and that is Reacher Season 2. I thought it is definitely more action-packed than Season 1. It's more of a revenge tale, and for people that don't know what Reacher is, it actually started off as a movie with Tom Cruise, and a lot of people didn't like how Tom Cruise was cast, because to the books, the Reacher character is actually more the size of how he is in the show. So that's why the they stopped making the movies, and the show season 2, I believe, follows the 12th book. So it's a pretty cool series, more of a revenge tale, like I said, and more showing his team when he was part of the military police, because that's how he knows how to solve crimes, because he was part of the military police. Personally, I preferred season 1 because I preferred not so action. I preferred working out his detective skills, but season 2 was still good, and it got renewed for season 3.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of the show when people have had it on, and I've walked past. But yeah, it looks good, and I did hear the same thing that I believe in the books it describes him of having hands built like turkeys, that they're massive, and he's just like a big brutey man. And Tom Cruise is like this big, so it doesn't kind of match up with the whole thing. So yeah, it's a bit funny. Something else I've been watching. So movies. Let's get up my trusty Letterboxd app. So I'm in the middle of watching Ferrari, so I haven't finished it. So this is the 17th movie on my list. I've watched half of it, and I must say the only reason I've only watched half is because I fell asleep. It has not been exciting at all. So I'll finish it, give it a chance. Won't go into depth with all the things I watched. I watched Saltburn, kind of like a very highly talked about film that's on Amazon Prime. I can't talk about it too much without giving it away, because the twist of the whole show is revealed very, very late, and I don't see it as being completely obvious until towards the end. But yeah, it's a very artsy film that has a pretty dark undertone. So worth watching, well talked about. Interesting film. I watched Lift by Kevin Hart on Netflix, which I'm notoriously not a fan of Netflix films. I talk very poorly about them. And this film surprised me, I think, because it was just a bit different. It's a heist film where the bad guys are working with the police, and they're trying to steal money from basically an even worse person than they are. Like they're kind of like the Robin Hoods. They steal artwork from people that won't miss it or don't need the money. So doesn't excuse their crime, but they're not, stealing from the poor and making themselves better off. And yeah, Kevin Hart seeing him play a role where he's not funny. He's like not meant to be funny. He's very serious, and it was quite good. I think Kevin Hart is actually a better actor than what I've given him credit for. Not riding on the coattails of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So that was cool to see. I saw Migration 3 times now. Twice at the movies, once at home. Not because I liked it. I went with work once, my son once, and then my son wanted to watch it again at home. Animated film about ducks migrating. Kind of a cool premise. The artwork is really cool. The idea of ducks wanting to migrate, or like the family do, but the dad's overprotective and he doesn't want to do it. Then he kind of decides to go because he gets a pep talk from his uncle, and he's like, I don't want to be like you, we're migrating. And then he comes along anyway. So Danny DeVito voices the uncle. It's quite funny. The movie just has a massive flaw in it, where this chef who's after them happens to own this ridiculous helicopter, and he goes on a revenge mission to get ducks. And I just don't believe that he would go at that effort just to get ducks. But the movie itself was pretty good. I can see why kids would like it. So yeah, not bad. I got plenty more movies to talk about. What else you got to talk about?
I have also watched something called A Murder at the End of the World, what is on Disney Plus. And the concept of this show is that it's a Gen V detective. She is a female. She's written a book. So basically, the events have already happened, and she's telling the audience who are listening to her book what has happened. So basically, there's people have gone to this hotel because people have been invited by the wife and the husband. But the first thing that happens is someone gets murdered, and then she is the detective having to solve the case. And how the show explains it is because her father was the coroner, the person that examines all the bodies and shows up to the crime scenes. Well, at first I was like, that's fine, but to be that good at the detective, I kind of thought, oh, I don't know if I buy that. And then it's a really good it was a really good show, and then what happens at the end kind of got me found it a little bit unrealistic with what the characters chose to do. And it's an okay show, but I don't know if everyone would like it, because it's also created by the people that did the OA. That's quite a popular show on Netflix, so it was a fine watch.
Okay. What else? I see you got your book of things.
I do.
I saw Slow Horses was on there.
Yeah, Slow Horses season 3 was a pretty excellent watch as well. Basically, as the law enforcement normally are, there's someone that has been murdered, but not through the right channels, and then the partner wants to get the information to prove that it was a hit, and then they basically find the members of the Slow Horses, and it's a really good season, and it's also being renewed for season 5 because there are 5 books of this show. So really looking forward to season 4, and it will be interesting to see how they finish the show, because I don't know if season 5 will be the last season because there's 5 books, or they'll make a season 6. It will be interesting to see.
Back to some of my movies. So we did a video the other week of most anticipated films, and unfortunately, the film that I was actually most excited about was already out. It came out on January 1, New Year's Day, and did not disappoint. This film was Next Goal Wins. Already been out overseas, came out January 1 for us. Zach recommended it. He said I would like it because he knows that I like sports movies, and he was right on the money. It's my favorite movie so far. I know it's early days, but I've seen 17 movies this year, new movies, and this one is still number 1. My movie that I enjoyed the most last year was Champions, and I think this is better than that. So I don't think it's unrealistic to believe that this could stay number 1 for the rest of the year. Again, it's an embellished true story about the American Samoa soccer team, considered the worst soccer team in the world. They kind of trying to redeem themselves and improve their soccer program. They bring over an American coach who has been, they've given up on him because he's too aggressive, his methods. He's suffering from the loss of his daughter. And it's just kind of a feel-good story, real funny. It just reeks of Taika Waititi. You can just tell it's his type of humor. Imagine that humor that he brought to Thor Love and Thunder, but it fitted this context with Thor Love and Thunder. It was like, this movie should be somewhat serious, but it worked for this. It was just, Polynesian humor. Like, maybe it's not going to be a hit around the world because they don't get it, but us being Australians have spent a lot of time around Samoans, Tongans, people from New Zealand. I get the humor, and each character reminds me of someone, So I thought it was funny. I really enjoyed it. So see if it stays my number 1 film for the year. Something else I wouldn't mind mentioning was Wonka. I've always been a fan of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, whether it's the books that I read as a kid, whether it was the films, not the Johnny Depp one. That one's horrible. But the one with Gene Wilder, really liked that as a kid. probably would be my most watched movie. I don't know how many times I watched it, but I feel like as a kid I watched it lots and lots and lots. I've seen the musical. Like, it's great. This movie, I expected to be crap. I really thought Timothy Chalamet, like, how can he? Why do they need to do Wonka again? What is this going to be about? Then I saw the trailers and I saw the Oompa Loompa. And I thought, okay, this could be good. I think this is going to be funny. And the movie was, what did I give it? I think I gave it 3.5 stars. And I know it's not a massively high rating, but I had low expectations of this, and I left there going, this was a pretty good, prequel to Wonka. The music was quite good in it. Yeah, there's lots to like about it. So I think it's a good, fun movie that I think most people could watch and enjoy. I think unless you dislike musicals, you could watch this movie and be happy with it. Back to your list. What else have you been watching?
I have also been watching.
Well, you got the Couple Next Door.
Yeah, The Couple Next Door. That's quite an interesting show and binge. Basically, what happens is that this couple, they find it hard to get pregnant because the husband, his sperm isn't as can't go to the egg as good. So, unfortunately, for the show to happen, the baby had to pass away, unfortunately, and then the wife has this overindulgent love for the husband, the couple that they liked, and that's why it's called The Couple Next Door. And then within the show, we have this weird stalker that's like stalking the wife. A lot of things happening. The show does start from the end of the show, and you're working out why is it that someone has a gun and trying to shoot his wife, and then you find out because it's pretty insane why that happens, because the wife wants to get pregnant, and then she manipulates the husband into having a swap couples, and then she goes ahead with it and the husband doesn't. She gets pregnant, the kid isn't his. He wants her not to have the child. She gets upset. A lot of stuff happens. Really weird community, I guess you can say. And what else happens is that the person that was stalking, he goes into the house where he was watching the female. He also has a stroke, and then ends up having a physical disability. A lot of stuff happens, and it was okay, limited series.
Yeah. Anyone famous? Anyone I would know?
There was an actor that was in Harry Potter.
Okay, I can't say it's really sold it for me. It doesn't sound that good, and you don't sound too convinced about it. Would you watch it again?
No.
Okay. What else? What else you got on your list?
What else?
It's on the other side. You've got Manhunt.
Yes, Manhunt was good. That has 3 episodes in it, and it's actually about a real case, and it shows the actor that is in the Doctor show is playing the lead role, and I really enjoyed watching it because it is actually about a real case, and we get to see how it was solved. And what was really good about it is that it told the story within the 3 episodes. It didn't drag on. It was a really good, there is a season 2, but season 2 is about a different case. So I really enjoyed season 1 for a British show.
Is it new? I'm trying to look it up. Or was like the first season came out a while ago?
Yeah, it came out a while ago, season 1.
Okay.
But season 2 you can't watch, unfortunately.
What else have I watched? I watched The Holdovers, highly anticipated film from last year. I actually think it didn't live up to the expectations that the 2 Zacks kind of built for me, but that's sometimes that happens. Something different. I watched Self-Reliance. This, I don't know where you can find this. I watched it online. I don't know where it's coming out in Australia or America. It has Anna Kendrick in it, and Jack Johnson, I think his name is. You'd recognize if you saw him, comedian. Interesting premise. The idea is that he has been offered by Andy Samberg from The Lonely Island, who plays himself. And they said, we've got this dark web reality TV show. You can win $1 million if you want to go on it. You've got 30 days to survive. And there's people hunting you. And they will kill you. And that's the end of the show. If you last 30 days, you get the money. And you, but there's a catch. They will not kill you if you're around civilians because they can't risk that. So he sees that as a loophole and he's like, well, I've just got to team up with someone. I've just got to find someone and pay them to hang around with me for 30 days. I'm going to make this money easy. Complications happen. Things don't always work that way. His friends and family think he's crazy. They do not believe this. They're like, you are on drugs. Like, we're having an intervention. So it has its funny moments. I didn't take anything away from the film, and I don't think I laughed at it a lot, but it was something different, and I will always credit a movie that tries something different, a unique idea. As far as I'm aware, it's unique. It could be a copy of something else, but I hadn't seen this premise before, and I liked it. I thought it was quite good.
Was the ending good?
Oh, yes and no, because we could assume, I'll give away spoilers. It's assumed that he's going to win. It'd be a bit of a cruel movie if you set up this premise and he dies. So he completes the 30 days. Whether or not he gets paid or how he gets paid, you go watch the movie to find out. But he survives the 30 days, and they kind of towards the end make you think, is he crazy? Is he imagining this? Like, did Andy Samberg really give him this money, or has he lost his mind? And then it kind of ends with them, his parents, his family realizing and meeting him and going, oh, okay, this isn't a joke. He actually was part of this game. So, yeah, I guess it was a satisfying ending that regardless of him getting money, that people were like, okay, you're not lying to us. This did happen. So that was one of the more interesting movies I saw. Watch Mean Girls, the new rendition in musical form. I think it had lots of potential and disappointed me. Mean Girls is one of the funniest movies I think ever come out. It's a quotable classic. Like, it's almost a rite of passage for people around our age to have seen it when we were at high school. And, it was the starting block for a lot of careers. It wasn't for Lindsay Lohan. She already had fame as a child, but, it's probably the role that people remember her for, or Parent Trap. People like Amanda Seyfried and Elizabeth Adams, whatever. She's from The Notebook. You'd know if you saw her. It launched their careers, so great film. And this turning into a musical, it should have worked, but it didn't. Like, the songs just weren't funny. And this had been a musical that had been on Broadway previous to turning into a movie, and the songs weren't funny. Like, it had the chance to be. It hit all the right lines from the movie, but then when it got to the musical part, you're like, this is silly, and I'm not laughing at it. And I think it failed. I think it should have been funnier, but I guess it's a copy of the musical, and if I'd seen the musical, I would have already known what to expect. So I thought that was a bit of a flop. One more weird movie I saw was Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage. The premise of this is he's an average college professor. People start having dreams about him. People are like, hey, I dreamt about you the other night. Like, this was really weird. You weren't doing anything in my dream. You were just there. And then his colleagues are like, oh, I had a dream about you too. And then people start having sexual dreams about him. And it kind of impacts his life. He goes from being a nobody to being all over the news. They're like, this is the guy that everyone's having dreams about. And he doesn't want this to happen. He has nothing to do with it. He can't help it. Why are people dreaming about him? And then it shows what can happen with that. You can be the top of the world. Everyone's like, wow, this is the guy from my dreams, to this is the guy from my nightmares is trying to kill me. And, he becomes the most hated man in the world because people are dreaming about him viciously murdering them. So they they live in fear of him. People won't work with him. People don't want to be his friend. People can't go near this guy anymore because they keep having nightmares about him, and he has no control over it. There's no one implanting this. He doesn't benefit from it. It just happens, and then it just goes away. But his life gets ruined because for no reason whatsoever. People just have dreams about him. So it's a movie about really nothing. You take nothing away from it, except for the thought of that would be horrible to happen. That was a weird thing to happen. So again, I give credit to movies that try something different. So I enjoyed it for the sake that it did something different. It's midway on my list so far, and I expect it to probably drop as better things come out. But it was different. I give it credit. Tell us some more things on your list.
Okay.
You got Manhunt. What If? Time? What's Time?
Time is a British show that stars Sean Bean from the Lord of the Rings when he has committed a manslaughter crime and he works out that he needs to survive in prison. And then you also have the inmate that is also doing crimes. So the main problem I found with it was that the accents, it was very hard to understand what they were saying. But for 3 episodes, it was a really good time. Really enjoyed it. And there's also a season 2, but it doesn't follow on from the same characters. It follows on from female characters, but I've not seen that yet. But I did enjoy my time with season 1. And yeah.
You watch a lot of British shows.
I do, yes.
I have no time for British TV.
They're very good British
I don't know
shows.
what it is. I just have no interest for it. It's either American or Australian for me.
There's so many good British shows.
The only things that I like are British are probably comedies. The In-Betweeners, a big fan of. That's probably it. So yeah, I just don't watch anything British. What else you got on your list?
Speaking about our Australian, there's
Eden.
Eden is our Australian 8-part Stan original series when this female comes back from work, and then we get to see how this town in New South Wales reacts to her coming back, and then her friend or lesbian, very confusing, reacts to her coming back, and then unfortunately she actually dies, so we work out who kills her, but she is a hustler, so it's very hard to sympathize with her. I personally did not like the show as much as Blackbird and other show on Stan. Yeah, it just wasn't for me.
What else we got on there? What's going on I think? There you go. Coca Guru Twins? What's that?
Oh yeah, that's the Netflix anime that is about gambling. Basically, in this school, most schools, your prestige is either you're the school's quarterback or property is different. In this high school, it's all about gambling, if you're a gambler or not. So the main character is trying to win at gambling so she doesn't become a pig. And a gambling pig means that you've lost all of your money and then you become a slave to the person that you lose to. It was a okay 6-episode anime, but the original one was better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more things from my list. We both saw Aquaman. That was a big letdown. What do you think about Aquaman?
Personally, I didn't understand why we needed to have two villains again. I personally think they should have stuck with the original villain, or just made the villain just stuck with one villain. Personally,
Yeah, I think they had the order wrong. I think the introduction of the Lost Kingdom king at the end, it needed to be the other way around, or he needed to come into it earlier and be more of a threat, because he was too easy. They kind of just defeat him in the end. I don't like it. I think they had the order a bit wrong. I saw Priscilla, which is kind of, if you've seen the Elvis movie, Baz Luhrmann, and this is kind of the perspective from Priscilla. Actually, Priscilla Presley was part of the writing. Well, she wrote a book, and then they turned it into a movie, and then she consulted on it. So it's her perspective. Whether or not she recalled everything correctly is another story, but it's interesting insight to seeing Elvis falling in love with a 14-year-old when he was 24. It's a bit weird. He wasn't the greatest person ever. They don't really go into his drug use. There's a little bit of it, but not as much as they go into it in the Elvis movie. So it was very artsy. It was very slow, but I'm glad I watched it. It gave me another insight into the world of Elvis. Elvis, way before our time, it's hard to fathom how big he was and how big he still is. So it's kind of, I like learning more stuff about Elvis. So it was okay. Mentioned Saltburn. Okay, one movie that really impressed me was Iron Claw. So this was on my list of most anticipated films. So I had that and Mean Girls, which are two of the most anticipated films I had of the year, which I've already seen. Iron Claw was really, really good. It was long. It wasn't though. Like, it wasn't 3 hours, but it felt long. But I liked it. I was gripped the whole time. A true story about a wrestling family. I thought it was a happy story. I was very wrong. It's a sad story, but it only made it more epic, I guess. Zac Efron was phenomenal. He's a really, really good actor. He's done so many different types of roles. I personally like him the best when he's funny. Movies like Bad Neighbors, Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. I think those are funny. Bad Grandpa as well. But he really nails it in a serious role. He looks horrible. Like, he's stupidly muscular and his jaw looks ridiculous because of what he acts in real life, and he looks weird. Like, he looks like he's got something wrong with him. But beyond that, his acting's phenomenal. Got to see Jeremy Allen White in this film from The Bear. Recently won a whole bunch of awards during awards season over in America. He is an awesome actor. So really, really liked this film. I think it's one you definitely need to go see, Jacob.
I will.
It's sad. Prepare for it to be sad, but it's a true story. It's pretty epic. And then did a bit of research afterwards, and I realized it was a whole lot sadder in real life. They actually dulled it down a little bit for the film because they believed that it was too sad. The audience could not handle it if they included every little detail. So at the moment, I think it's the best film I've seen this year, but not my favorite, which is a weird thing to say, but I think it's the best quality film, but it's not the one I enjoyed the most. So yeah, so I really, really like that. What else you got?
I watched a limited series on Paramount Plus called Lawman Bass
Reeves.
Yeah, Bass Reeves. And it's quite an interesting show because it shows the different how life was back in the 1800s and how it was very black and white compared to how it is now. Basically, the concept is that the character the show is named after is actually part of the Confederacy. He is serving under a major, and then he does a card dealing, and then he actually wins, but the major cheats, and then he goes into a scuffle, and then he goes somewhere else, in the where part of that area, and then he meets a family, and then the villain of the series actually shoots his surrogate son, and then that's kind of what happens in the first episode. It shows that back in the 1800s, they didn't have any self-control when it comes to children. They were very much breeders compared to now. He has in the show like 6 or 7 children. What now that would be considered insane, but he has his own property, his own farm. It does show because he's a lawman, he can get away with killing someone. So it just shows a different time back in the 1800s, and I would actually quite recommend this show. It has a satisfying ending, very much good acting, great quality of cast in this show, and probably one of my favorite limited series of the year so far.
Cool. Where can I find that?
Paramount Plus.
Ooh, I do have Paramount Plus, so I could watch that.
Mm.
Okay. Last film I think's worth talking about is Anyone But You. This movie stars Sydney Sweeney I'm going to look up the name of the main actor, the main male actor. We are looking at Glenn Powell. So, again, that bloke. He is from Top Gun Maverick. So when I was watching the film, I'm like, where do I recognize this guy? So he's the head of the class in Top Gun Maverick, and the guy that everyone's like, he's can't do no wrong, and then he gets left out for the final mission and saves them all. So spoilers, sorry guys. Should have seen it by now. So he's in that. This guy is ridiculously good looking and just muscular as all hell. So him and Sydney Sweeney, this is one of those movies people just go to watch to eyeball the main characters. American film set in Australia, romantic comedy. I've read a lot of things about this. So this film has been out for a while in Australia, and it's still got so many session times. When we went to see it, it was packed. So it was doing pretty good at the box office, and it's kind of, people are saying it's showing that there's a need for this genre again. Romantic comedies. People are looking for something that's just easy to watch, easy to have a laugh at, and you don't need to be too unique with a romantic comedy. It's, it's two people that kind of fight, bicker, and in the end, they're going to be together. Yeah. It's fine, but it can still be good. They don't need to reinvent the wheel. They just need to find different scenarios and different reasons to do it. So there's an appetite for it. Seems to be well received. This movie was extremely funny. I liked it because it was set in Australia. So long story short, 2 friends, these two, they meet at a coffee shop. They go on a date. She ditches him after a one-night stand. She decides to come back and feels bad. As she comes back, she sees him all heartbroken. Well, she doesn't see him heartbroken, but he's a bit disappointed. And then his friend shows up and he starts bad-mouthing and saying, oh, this girl last night, she was nothing to me. I'm glad she's gone. So she only hears that, but he only says it because he's heartbroken. They don't see each other for ages, hate each other. They then come back together because her sister is getting married to his best friend's sister, and they're both in the bridal party of either side. They go on the weddings. It's a wealthy family. They go and have the wedding in Sydney in Australia. They go there from, I think it might be San Francisco or something. And yeah, so lots of Australian comedy. We get to see, familiar scenes. And yeah, it's just this funny love story. I like the way that they change a lot of the Australian things. So they go into the water at Sydney Harbour. Instead of getting picked up by the water police, they get picked up by the harbour police, which don't exist. And they have the same vehicles that we do, but they've changed it to say harbour police. And every time they go in the water, they get rescued by a helicopter, which just wouldn't happen. Sydney Harbour's, it's a big harbour, but honestly, to get a boat to where they are in the harbour would take 5 minutes. A helicopter, they're going to have to travel from the airport, which is way further away. So it's kind of funny. So they keep jumping in the harbour, and he does this big romantic gesture at the end where he jumps in the harbour to get the helicopter to take him to see her. But yeah, it's funny. The Aussies in this show are absolutely hilarious. One of them is this male character who's the love interest of one of the other characters, and he's like this big blokey Aussie dude that's really just into like surfing and that. He's a larrikin, and he just shows off all the time without meaning to, and it kind of plays on this idea that Aussies are always like good looking and good at all sports, and it's very funny. And I like it because at the end of the film, he like kind of vanishes, and one of the characters is like, "Oh, where did he go?" They're like, "Oh, well, he left because he saw a wave and he said he was morally obligated to surf it, and he just had to leave." And then in the end credits, he's surfing in his suit, like he's just like because he's that desperate to catch this wave. And I just think it's funny. And then like it finishes with like them singing this song like in the credits, and it shows like them in all different parts of the film, different scenes singing it. So I guess as filming this film, they would do a scene and like, "Can you sing this song?" And they would have sung this song like 1,000 times, only so they could piece together this montage of everyone singing it. And it's very funny. I think it's an easy film that literally anyone could watch. It does have one really crude like nudity scene, which I was like, that's surely going to be cut from the film at some point. Like you just can't show like. It's like it's pretty perverted. But I was just like, I'm really surprised they let that get into the editing. So yeah, I liked it, and it's like I think the third best movie I've seen this year, and it probably get lower down the list as like more serious movies come along, but it's one I'm looking forward to coming to streaming and watching the second time. So what do you got on the rest of your list?
I'll talk about other anime, and that is
Lookism.
Yeah, lookism. That the concept in this show is that the main character is getting bullied quite seriously, so he wants to change schools, thinking that the bullying will just go away. And as we know in real life, bullying doesn't just disappear because you change schools. So the mum actually comes to the school and sees him get bullied, and then finally says, "Oh, you can change schools." And then he actually gets his own apartment, and then he wakes up, and then there's a like beautiful version of himself, and then where you as the viewer is like, wait, what's going on here? And then he can switch bodies. What the anime doesn't explain that. So basically he actually does still get bullied, but when this actually happens, everything changes for him. So I really enjoyed this show because it shows how bullying affects people, music. It just had a really important message, and still got really confused how the powers worked. But hopefully there's a second season and everything can get explained, because the concept is very interesting.
You got anything else, or is that the last thing you watched?
I watched...
Yeah, so one more on your list. You got Katara Lives Alone?
Yeah, Katara Lives Alone. Basically, also on Netflix, this 4-year-old lives by himself. Pretty smart 4-year-old, but you're probably wondering, that's very unrealistic. But, you know, it's an anime. Not everything is realistic. So what basically happens is that the mother leaves, and then the father is abusive. So basically he leaves the situation, then goes to the place where he lives. And it was really cool seeing how a 4-year-old would do this, learning why he is in this situation, and just the dynamic of the next door neighbors and what happens in the show. And just, I definitely did cry in this show. It was very emotional, very heartwarming, and yeah, it was really good anime, and didn't expect to be as impacted by the characters as I was. So yeah, very good show.
Okay, so we'll get into it a bit soon as to why you won't be watching too much the next week or so because you're going away. But is there anything? What's on your list to watch? What are you about? What's next? What are you going to watch after these?
Gonna finish off Percy Jackson. definitely want to get into Amazon Prime, the Mr. and Mrs. Smith show with Danny Glover. That looks really good on Amazon Prime.
Is that out?
It comes out in February.
I'll have to watch it. Big fan of Donald Glover.
Mhm.
Don't care too much for the Mr. and Mrs. Smith movie, but I'll watch anything with him in it.
And yeah, there's probably other things. That I'll get into, but we shall see.
Yeah, I'll finish watching Only Murders in the Building. I've got an idea of who I think the murderer is. I'm not going to say it because even though Jacob says he won't, I'll be able to tell. I'll see in his eye whether or not I got it right. So I'm not going to say anything, and I don't want to ruin it for myself. So I got an idea. Sure, I'll continue watching not Hello Boss, Husband Hotel. Finish Ferrari. You told me I should watch Role Play.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Every time I go to watch it, I change my mind. I want to watch Night Swim. I really do. I know it's going to be stupid, but I need to add some horrors to my list. I can't do a comprehensive list, watch 100 movies and not watch at least a horror. And I really want to watch Boy Swallows Universe.
Oh yes,
super well talked about Netflix show.
It's a limited series.
Set in Brisbane. 40 minutes up the road.
Has Simon Baker as well, and the actor that was in Vikings and Black Snow as well.
Yeah, everyone says it's amazing, so I definitely want to see that. But yeah, I'll just finish off Only Murderers first, I think.
This might be a big call, but I actually think Based on a True Story is better than Only Murders in the Building.
I don't doubt it. I think Only Murderers, now we're into the third season, I'm a bit over it. It's fun, but it's like, it's not kind of good. I just keep watching it. Where I thought Based on a True Story has a better premise. I think maybe there could have been a few little tweaks and changes, but
fake outs were nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what season 2 holds and where that goes. So yeah, looking forward to that. I don't disagree with you. I guess we'll see after a second season of Based on a True Story whether or not it can continue with that formula. Have you watched the last season or the latest season of Barry yet?
I wanted to. That's something I need to get back into because I really enjoyed the first 3, and then Mum as she does got sick of it, and it's like, oh. But that's a show that I recommended Barry to you, and it's a great show. I think the concept of Barry is amazing.
Yeah, I've only watched the first season, and I didn't mind it, and I want to get back into it because it keeps winning awards and keeps being spoken of, so it's obviously good. So I will. That's on my list of things to watch. I am watching Raising Kanan. Part of the Power universe. I've talked a lot about different Power shows and the Power universe. This one's the best one, I reckon, even better than the original. But I've had this weird thing where I'm not interested in TV at the moment. I just want to watch movies, and I keep saying it's because the investment in time, and I almost feel overwhelmed. I actually feel there's too many shows to watch, and the time it takes to watch them. Where I can turn it on and finish it in one sitting, and I go, wow. I finish it and I go, well, I either liked it or I didn't. There's nothing more required. Job's done. It's hard to do that with the show, so it's deterred me a bit. But yeah, I did watch another episode of Raising Kanan this morning. Been playing a lot of PlayStation. You been playing any of your gaming consoles?
Yes, but not as much. I will when I get back from my trip. But I've noticed we have different mindset. My mindset is that because it's more of a effort for myself to organize to go to the movies, you can drive yourself to the movies, and it's easy to watch TV shows or to stream movies as well. So we have different kind of mindsets when it comes to entertainment.
Yeah, I just enjoy the activity of going to a movie. Sitting there in the dark, experience on a big screen, put your phone away. It's nice to be, doing just to have a break from reality. I find, it's like going to the movies is a great experience, and I hope that doesn't get replaced by. Hope movies don't phase that anytime soon. I do really enjoy that. So we're talking about gaming. We've reviewed a game in the past, I think, or we've talked about it. We definitely reviewed one of the Spider-Man games, and I don't think we ever posted it because I don't think I did a good job. But I'm playing the latest Spider-Man. Had a break from it because I don't want it to end, which is a weird thing. Like when you like something, you don't want it to end. So I don't like replaying games. So put the brakes on that so I can hold out. So I started playing a new game. I got into Plague's Tale Requiem, which is the second installment of the Plague's Tale. You played the first one?
Yes.
I must say I'm enjoying it. I really am. I just thought it was going to be different. I didn't think it was going to be all about rats, and that's fine. I don't dislike that. I was just hoping it was going to be more. I don't know, like the plague affecting people and you trying to like escape. But the rats thing's cool. I like it. So I'm glad that's the direction they went. I won't play the original one. I just watched like a 30-minute video the other day that showed all the shorts and explained what happened. So I'm caught up because they don't explain a lot of the stuff, like the whole young boy having like powers over the rats and stuff like that's not explained in the second game. So you do need to watch a recap. But I think it's cool. I'm very picky on games. In terms of like a little fun game, I bought Justice League Cosmic Chaos, which is like a top-down, like almost like a mobile app, and you swap between Wonder Woman, Batman, and Spider-Man, and Spider-Man, Superman. You just swap between them like seamlessly and use their powers, and you fight these little like ocean-looking critters. And it's a bit of fun. I actually think it's a pretty simple concept. It's like a mobile game, really, just brought to console. So I've got that. So getting a bit more gaming out the way at the moment. So tell me, where you going? Or tell everyone else where you going this as of tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow I will be heading to Melbourne for a competition for basketball representing Queensland against the other states in Australia. For basketball, a competition, national championship, Ivanburg, and there's also under 21s as well. So basically there's the competition for people on the spectrum, and then there's competition for mainstream. So it's the highest level you can achieve for people on the spectrum. And funnily enough, Ivanburg is actually American, same as who invented Special Olympics as well. And who invented Special Olympics was actually JFK's sister. So Americans like to invent everything, and it's going to be a hard competition, but looking forward to it. And that's why I haven't been doing as much content, because it's been very busy, been doing it every weekend, and it's going to be challenging.
Yeah, you've been training really hard, been getting prepared for it. It's your second year going. What are some personal goals you're hoping for this tournament?
To actually score a basket this year, and I guess not to get a win starting instead of getting a win when a win's important, but to get a win when it actually matters.
And what about some team goals? What do you think your team realistic is aiming for or could achieve?
I think the team wants to play in medal games, so I guess probably the bronze match.
Yeah, which is for give some context, the Queensland team has had a 10-year hiatus from entering this competition.
Yeah,
and they just got back into it. So they're, there's a lot of teams that have, had a lot more practice and doing a lot better than what Queensland are. So, probably tipped to be last or close to it. So, pushing towards and doing better. To make the medals would be a huge achievement. So, I'm really hoping you guys can achieve that.
Thank you.
So obviously you want to go away with the gold, but I think making a medals game would be, like winning a gold medal for your team who's quite in their infancy. So won't be bringing out anything for the next week or so.
No.
What are some videos that have been recorded that are coming out that people can expect?
A review for Beekeeper, a trailer reaction for Doom Part 3, and we are still going to be doing the 2000 top 5 video, what very much looking forward to, and yeah, a lot of stuff to be doing.
Have you seen the pictures online emerging of the popcorn bucket from Dune 2 in America?
No.
I'll get it up. Dune 2. Actually, I'll find. People have been sending me this stuff. Where is this thing? Oh, it's gone. This looking thing. It's there's a lot of jokes about people going to be having sex with their popcorn bucket the way it's shaped. So
Okay.
it's just, I'm sure it's all over the internet. It's a bit of an inappropriate looking popcorn bucket, and I think the people that are promoting it at June have done a really dumb thing by making it. So it's a bit of an internet meme at the moment. So we got that videos. I would like to, when you get back, do a video where we suggest to each other some videos that movies we need to watch. So I want to push for Jacob to watch some, I'm going to say girly movies, or movies that Jacob's probably not watched in the past because they've had kind of like a girly name to them. But I think he needs to watch them. So I'm thinking Barbie, Mean Girls, and She's the Man. I think you need to watch those. I think even though they are female-dominated movies, they are funny and hilarious. And then what did you have in mind to try and get me to watch?
Since you aren't as much into sci-fi, I'm going to come up with sci-fi movies.
Okay. So it'd be cool. Get that and get some feedback. Jacob has refused to watch Barbie, and I think he's missing out. I think Barbie has its flaws, but geez, it's funny.
What streaming service is on Barbie?
None. You might have to rent it. I'll rent it for you. So Barbie, looking forward to seeing what your thoughts are on that. Okay, so do you want to sign us out?
Okay, hope you enjoyed the live stream. As always, you're awesome and keep being awesome. Like and subscribe, share the video, and be awesome. Bye-bye.
See ya. Signing off in